Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Mozsly double watch winder. This watch winder is available from Mozsly.com for €155. The winder is available in a plethora of colour options. Of the colour options, I think this black leather version is the best looking. It has a 30-day return policy and a 3-year international warranty, which is very good. Now, the important thing to note is Mozsly can ship this from the UK, USA or EU. For example, I'm in Ireland and they ship this winder from Italy to Ireland. Now the benefit of that is you're not going to pay any import taxes if you're based in the UK, USA or EU, because they will ship the winder from the respective country to avoid you paying import tax. So firstly, I'll show you the box that the winder comes in, and then I'll talk you through the accessories that come with it and also the specifications. So the winder comes in this fabric bag, as you can see, which does a good job of protecting it inside the box, so it's not going to get scuffed and scratched in shipping. And I'll show you the box it comes in. As you can see, the lid's branded with Mozsly and the brand emblem, and then we have pictures of the different colours that the winder comes in. And on the end we also have some details. Now the important thing to note is this is anti-magnetic. It's powered by two Mozsly electric motors which are made in Japan, but they're shielded, so they're not going to magnetize the automatic movements in your watches because the electromagnetic fields are shielded around the motor. The other thing to note is the winder is 100% handmade, which is very good. The leather is genuine leather and it is hand stitched and it is done to a very high standard, and of course it's extremely quiet, which I'll talk about. So I'll show you the interior. You can see the quality of the packaging. So inside the lid there's a thick foam panel which is very good, and this prevents it getting impact damage. Now on the left hand portion we have a box for the accessories such as the power adapter, the link lead and also the owner's instruction manual, which I'll show you. But around the inner box is fully lined with foam panels, and the winder sits inside the inside box, so there's no risk of any impact damage when in transit. Very good quality packaging, and Mozsly deserve credit for this because often watch winders, for example if you purchase them from China and they come from via Amazon or AliExpress, they're often not well packaged and they arrive damaged, but Mozsly winders are very well packaged. So I'll show you the items that come with it. There are two cushions which I'll show you, and I'm using them for these two watches, but they also come with a second pair of foam cushions, as you can see. Now these are made for ladies' watches, or if you have bracelets or straps on smaller pieces, for example 34 and 36mm head of the pieces, and you have a wrist size of below 5 inches. These are made for ladies' watches or small wrist sizes, because the ones I've got in the winder are made to fit the majority of wrist sizes from 7 to 8 inches, for example. So spare pair of foam cushions. This is the link lead. Now the benefit of Mozsly watch winders is that you can link up multiple watch winders. You can stack them on top of each other and you can run them side by side using a link lead. So unlike other watch winders, you don't need to have several plug sockets to plug them in independently. The power adapter only needs to be plugged in once, and you can link up a plethora of winders. So for example, if you want to stack 2 or 3 of them on top of each other, you can link them up and only have one plug to the power source. You also get this plastic resealable bag which contains 4 rubber feet, and I'll show you where they go. So on the base we have these 2 aluminium feet, and they have 4 rubber feet, and in case one of these comes off and it wobbles about, you have 4 spares in the plastic resealable bag, so very good attention to detail. The benefit of the rubber feet is it doesn't slide about on a smooth desktop or cabinet or table, and it's not going to scuff and scratch it, so very good attention to detail. You also get this microfiber polishing cloth which is branded with Mozsly's emblem and Mozsly, as you can see. Nice to get that included. And lastly, you also get this very comprehensive owner's instruction manual. Clear, concise diagrams and high definition pictures. The instructions are translated into multiple foreign languages, including English, and this really is an idiot's guide to using an automatic watch winder. So if you haven't used one before and you're not familiar with it, this talks you through how to set it up, how to use it step by step. It's very well written with clear, high definition pictures, very easy to follow, and it's good they've translated it into multiple languages. Right, so I'll give you the background to this. I previously reviewed a Mozsly single watch winder and I was very impressed with the quality, but you'll know from my recent State of the Collection review, I currently have a five-piece collection with 4 automatics, and therefore I need a double watch winder in order to wind the 4 automatics because I wear them in rotation. For example, I'll wear a watch for 1 to 2 days and then rotate it to another one, but in the meantime I need a double watch winder to wind the additional pieces. So to fully test this out, the performance of it, I have used on the left a Pagani designed PD1661 Starbucks, and on the right my Rolex Submariner date 16610. So the PD1661 is powered by the Seiko NH35A, which has a 41-hour power reserve, and the Submariner date on the right is powered by the Rolex Caliber 3135, which has a 48-hour power reserve respectively. Now, before I put these 2 pieces in the winder to test it, they were fully exhausted. The mainsprings had fully unwound, so they had stopped dead. Because I wanted to put 2 watches in, one with the NH35A and one with the 3135, 41 hours and 48 hours power reserve respectively, and just see how long it takes for the automatic winder to fully wind them up. So I put them in overnight and I run them on the clockwise cycle for the maximum speed, the maximum turns per day, which is 1,250 TPD. TPD stands for turns per day. So I'll show you on the back the different settings and the operation. Now, in the center section, we have a battery compartment with a flap you can remove, which I'll show you. Now, as you can see, there's space for 2 batteries. They take C-type batteries, and you can use rechargeable C-type batteries if you have a battery recharger, and it snaps in quite easily, as you can see. Now, that's an alternative. For example, if you're in a place where you don't have a power socket, you can use battery power. Now, there are 2 control panels, one for the left motor, one for the right. This double winder is powered by 2 electric motors, which are made by Mozsly in Japan, and the single winder only has 1 motor, as you can expect. There are 2 sockets, one powering each motor, as you can see. Now, you can plug in the power socket to either one of these, and that will power electricity to both of the electric motors on both of the winders. But this extra socket is used with this link lead, as you can see. So, for example, if you want to stack 2 or 3 winders on top of each other, you only need to plug it into 1 power source. You don't need 3 plug sockets for 3 winders or 2 plug sockets for 2 winders, etc. You simply need link leads to link up each of the winders together in series. So you plug in 1 winder and then you use the link leads to link up the additional winders, and that's a benefit because often with watch winders, you need a separate power source for each one. You need a plug socket for each of the power adapters. With Mozsly, you can link them up in series. So as you can see, looking at the control panel, the top switch is the power switch on and off. There are 3 cycles you can choose from. The left-hand cycle is clockwise, the middle cycle is anti-clockwise, and the last cycle is bidirectional. It rotates clockwise, then pauses, then anti-clockwise, then clockwise again, and so on. So depending on the movement you're using, you can select clockwise rotation, anti-clockwise rotation, or bidirectional. I personally use clockwise for testing these 2 pieces because the NH35A can be wound bidirectionally and the 3135 can be wound bidirectionally, so it doesn't matter if the winder rotates clockwise or anti-clockwise. Continuously rotating it on a clockwise cycle will wind it. Now, the bottom switch controls the TPD, and as I've detailed, TPD stands for turns per day. So you have the option of 650, 850, 1050 or 1250 turns per day. Now, I can tell you 1250 turns per day is enough to wind a piece with a 65-hour or 5-day power reserve. So that is the absolute maximum you're ever going to need, even for a watch with an incredibly high power reserve of 5 days. Typically, a 40-hour power reserve piece will be sufficiently wound with 850 TPD. So 1250 will definitely wind it to the absolute maximum. So, to clarify, I put both of these pieces in, the PD1661 and also my Rolex Submariner date 16610. I put them both in when they were dead. The mainsprings were fully exhausted. I ran this for 8 hours overnight, and it completed the cycle of 1250 turns per day within 8 hours. and they are now both fully wound to 41 hours with the PD1661 and 48 hours on my 3135 used in my Submariner date. So 1250 is enough, and it really depends on the movement you use. Some Yota calibers, for example, only have anti-clockwise winding, so you need to rotate the rotor on the movement anti-clockwise in order to wind the movement. If you rotate it clockwise, it has a negligible effect. But the majority of automatic movements, it doesn't matter if the rotor rotates clockwise or anti-clockwise, they are bidirectional winding. So for example, if you've got a Sellita SW200-1 or an NH35A, the rotor can spin clockwise or anti-clockwise and it will still wind. It has the same winding effect. So it works very well, very simple to use. You simply set it on the TPD and then select the cycle, clockwise, anti-clockwise or bidirectional winding, and you can run them independently. The thing I like about this is, although it has 2 electric motors and 2 winders, if you're only using it for 1 watch at a time, you simply use 1 panel at a time. With some watch winders, they only have 1 control panel, so you have to run the 2 motors at the same time on the same cycles and the same TPDs. You can't individually select what you want, and you can't switch off one and run the other one, for example. You have to run both motors simultaneously. This one, the 2 motors are completely independent. Now, with regards to the motors, this is the important thing to note. With automatic watch winders, it's a case of one gets what one pays for. Yes, you can buy less expensive automatic watch winders from Amazon and AliExpress that are made in China using Chinese-made motors, but that's a mistake. The reason why it's a mistake is 2 reasons. The first one is they're often noisy. The Chinese-made motors are often very noisy, so if you're going to be using your automatic watch winder in a quiet room, such as a bedroom overnight, on a bedside cabinet or on a table, you're going to hear the sound of the electric motor buzzing around. So it's going to keep you awake and disturb you if you're in a quiet room. Now, the benefit of Mozsly electric motors is they are very quiet. They're silent. So you can barely hear the sound of the electric motor running. And that's something I really like about them, because they have a very good reputation for being quiet, and also they're durable, the build quality is good, the materials are good, the quality control is good. Now, Mozsly are obviously very confident in the Mozsly electric motors they're using, because they cover this winder with a 3-year international warranty, and that's something else to consider, because often Chinese-made watch winders are only covered by a 12-month international warranty, and they have built-in obsolescence. They're poor quality. They have a 12-month lifespan. So you buy the watch winder, you run it for 1,250 turns per day, and then after 12 months, the electric motor burns out. And of course, that's why they have a 12-month guarantee, the built-in obsolescence. They are made to have a lifespan of, say, 1 year, and then they fail. And of course, then they're out of warranty, so you lose your money. But this has a 3-year international warranty, because Mozsly know that the Mozsly electric motors, which are made in Japan, are higher quality than Chinese-made noisy motors, and this isn't going to burn out after 12 months of use at 1,250 turns per day. This will run for 3 years and still keep going because of the high quality motors. Now, the thing is, they are of course more expensive because they're made in Japan. Mozsly motors are the very best in automatic winders. So €155 a result, but it's a case of, if you buy cheap, you buy twice. But if you pay the money, €155 up front for a good quality winder with Mozsly motors, it's going to run for over 3 years and it's not going to break down. That's the thing to know. And it's also quieter. So that's why Mozsly automatic winders are more expensive. Now let's look at the finishing. So as I've detailed, this is available in a plethora of colour options and finishes. And for example, you can have this in a lacquered wooden finish with nice grained finish to it, or alternatively leather coated. This is genuine leather. It's not vinyl or PU leather. This is genuine leather, and as you can see, flawless stitching around the perimeter on the lid and also the flanks, and it's got a lovely satin finish to the grained finish. It looks like calf leather. Beautiful sheen to it. So the quality of the leather is good. The quality of the stitching is good. The brushed satin finishing to the stainless steel plate in the front is good, and we've got stainless steel hex screws which are also polished to a good standard. Also the caps, I'll unscrew one of them and show you. Nice and smooth. Plenty of depth in the cap. So, for example, if you have a thicker piece, such as an Amiga Planet Ocean or an Amiga Seamaster, which is 41mm or 45mm, with a thickness of 14 to 15mm, for example, there's enough clearance, and that's something I really like, because often with other watch winders, they simply don't have enough clearance. The bezel then fouls the crystal, not the crystal, the glass or the acrylic. These use acrylic, so it's not going to shatter and break, which is good. They're durable. Clarity is good. But the important thing is they have enough depth. So as you can see, the depth of the aluminium cap means that the bezel isn't going to foul and rub against the inside of the glazing. Now I'll show you the padded pillow cushions, because as I've detailed, Mozsly includes 2 pairs, and these are the smaller ones for below 5 inches or ladies' watches, and these are the larger ones which are made for 7 to 8 inch wrists, as you can see. Now you'll know from my previous reviews I have a large 8-inch wrist and I size my bracelets loose. So this is the maximum you're going to need. This is over 8 inches because I allow an index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp. And these padded pillow cushions are very stiff. You have to really compress them. They're quite firm foam. And they have 2 panels, as you can see. The fabric is a carbon fibre effect weave. Now it's very thick and durable weave. And this is good attention to detail because, again, this is what you're paying for. With a lot of automatic winders, they simply coat the padded pillow cushion with velvet fabric, as the rest of this is coated with. But the problem with just using velvet fabric on the ends is that this is an area that's prone to wear and tear. And for example, the case back rubbing against this 1,250 turns per day eventually wears through the velvet fabric and exposes the foam in the padded pillow cushion. But this has a very thick woven fabric which is very durable and wear resistant, and on the other end we've also got a second panel which is woven like carbon fibre effect, and this is where the bracelet clasp rubs against, so it's not going to rub through with 1,250 turns per day. And this is why Mozsly cover this winder with a 3-year warranty, not a 1-year warranty, because this isn't going to wear with 3 years of daily use. So very nicely upholstered in velvet fabric, which is very soft, and very stiff foam used, and also these caps, as you can see, they actually feel hard. The squares in the end of the cuboid padded pillow cushion, they're stiff, they don't compress, they've got these hard panels, so it's like they've got plastic inside on the end caps, which is good. So you've got a nice flat panel on the end for the case back and also the clasp against. And they're a good snug fit. So this is sized for an 8-inch wrist, as you'll know. And as you can see, it's not going to accidentally come off when it's in use. 1,250 turns per day. It's not going to shake. It's not going to work its way off the cushion. And then what happens is, with a lot of winders, is if they're a sloppy fit, the bezel rubs against the inside of the glazing on the cap and scuffs it, and rubs against your bezel insert as well. So nice snug fit inside, as you can see. You push it all the way home and there's no risk of it coming out, and then the threading is cut very well because the end cap picks up well and screws on. So I'll just show you the other one for comparison. You'll all be familiar with the Pagani Design PD1661. Bracelets are very long. These will fit up to a 9-inch wrist. Now I haven't sized the bracelet. This is on its maximum length, and we're on the maximum on the extension of the micro adjustments in the clasp. So this is to fit a 9-inch wrist, and as you can see, padded pillow cushion will suffice even with a bracelet sized for a 9-inch wrist. This is a maximum PD1661 oyster style bracelet size. Doesn't come loose. So no risk of this head of the piece moving around when it's rotating inside the winder. It's a nice snug fit. And it's very good because if you have a large wrist of over 8 inches, for example 8.5 or even 9 inches, this padded pillow cushion will suffice. If you have a smaller wrist of 5 inches or below, this padded pillow cushion will suffice. So it's good that Mozsly have thought this through. Nice snug fit, push it all the way home and then screw on the cap, and then I'll switch it on and show it to you again. So very quiet. No negatives to the operation. It's almost silent running. Just bear with me and I'll get the thread to pick up on this one. There we go. No. Let me just screw it back on again. Yes, there we go. That's it, now it's on. Okay, so I'll just switch it back on and I'll talk you through the positives and the negatives of using a winder. Right, so what are the negatives? Well, some collectors worry about using an automatic watch winder because they think that it's going to expedite the wear in the movements. Now I want to dispel this myth. If you run your automatic movement for 1,250 turns per day, that simulates you wearing the watch on wrist for 8 to 12 hours per day, being active. And of course that is enough. If you wear an automatic with 40-hour power reserve for 8 to 12 hours per day, it will keep it running. It will wind it up. Now, 1,250 turns per day is not excessive. It doesn't cause excessive wear. It doesn't expedite the wear in the movements. Wear in automatic movements is not caused by the amounts you wear a watch or the amount of time you run it on an automatic watch winder. It's caused by dirty lubricants. And this is the point. If a automatic movement has a service interval of 5 years, it's important that you change the oil every 5 years, because every time you unscrew the crown on a watch to set the time or set the date or manually wind it, you break the hermetic seal. And what happens is you allow dust particles in the air inside the case, which is hermetically sealed by the sapphire crystal, the case back and the crown. They provide the hermetic seals on the case. So what you're doing is you're allowing dirty air with dirty air particles to come into the case, which is hermetically sealed, and those dirty particles in the air inside the case contaminate the lubricant in the movements. And what happens is it becomes like a grinding paste, and the metal to metal gears, the moving parts in the watch, rubbing against each other with this dirty lubricant, then wear out the metal parts. So this is why watches need to have an oil change, rather like a car engine, every 5 years. And what happens is a watchmaker will remove the movement, strip it down, they ultrasonically clean the parts so they're sterile, and then they build the movement back up using fresh, clean lubricant. And of course that removes the contaminants from the lubricants. It removes the dirty particles and also the metal filings which have worn off the gears, for example. So, wear in movements is caused by dirty lubricants, lack of servicing, and lack of oil changes. It's not caused by running a movement for 1,250 turns per day on an automatic watch winder, and it's not caused by wearing a watch on wrist for 8 to 12 hours per day. They are designed to take that amount of wear, 8 to 12 hours per day on wrist or 1,250 turns per day on a winder. There's no discernible difference. For example, if you ran this watch winder for 3 years and for 1,250 turns per day, and then you took apart the movements and examined it for wear, and if you wore the watch on wrist for 3 years, 8 to 12 hours per day, there would be no discernible difference in terms of the wear in the jewels, the gears, the rotor, and the other moving parts of the movements. It's really not due to the amount of turns or the amount of time that the movement's wound. It's a case of how clean is the lubricant? Is it dirty or is it clean? So that's the reality. It's a myth. Collectors often think that running automatic movements on winders for 1,250 turns per day is going to expedite the wear. It does not. It's the same as wearing the watch on wrist for 8 to 12 hours per day. Negligible wear. Clean lubricant every 5 years is the important factor, or of course with a Rolex it's every 10 years because they now use a high performance lubricant which has extended the service interval from 5 years to 10 years respectively. But with an NH35A it's not going to be a concern because they're inexpensive to replace, and they typically last for 5 years to 10 years or even up to 20 to 25 years because the NH35A is based upon the 7S26 and often they run up to 25 years with no servicing whatsoever. So very robust. But the point is, automatic winders do not damage movements. They do not accelerate the wear. They are the same as wearing the watch on wrist. So quality of the finishing throughout is very good. The leather is good. The aluminium caps are very well finished, and also they have a nice chamfer to them, so no sharp edges, and they're glazed with acrylic rather than glass, so they're not going to shatter. And as you can see, Plenty of clearance around the bezel. It's not going to foul the glazing, so it's not going to scuff and scratch the acrylic glazing, and also it's not going to rub against the bezel. And as you can see, these are a nice tight fit. Now they're both 40mm heads of the pieces, but even if they were 41 to 45mm, you can see there's enough clearance around inside the caps. They're not going to foul the inside of the caps, they're not going to scuff and scratch them. So this winder will comfortably suit if you have a piece which is 36mm up to 45mm. If you have a bracelet or a strap which is 5 inches up to 9 inches maximum. Plenty of clearance. Padded pillow cushions have plenty of depth to them, and as you can see, plenty of clearance. They're not fouling both around the head of the piece and also to the front, the bezel and the crystal. There's no chance of this rubbing against the glazed acrylic. So no negatives to it whatsoever. It's quiet, doesn't damage your movement, and of course the benefit is you don't have to wear the watch for 8 to 12 hours per day. You can simply put this on overnight for 8 hours when you're asleep on the 1250 turns per day cycle, and you can run it clockwise or anti-clockwise or bi-directionally depending on which movement or whatever your preference is. Now lastly, I'll just show you the power adapter. That's one thing I didn't show you, which you might be interested in. Now, depending on your country, Mozsly will ship you the correct plug. For example, if you're in America, they will ship you a plug to suit the USA. If you're in the EU, they will ship this one, which is a European 2-pin plug. And if you're in the UK, they will ship a 3-pin UK plug. So don't worry, you will get the correct plug for your region. Now, if you don't have a power source, a plug socket, you can also unplug the USB cable. And again, Mozsly deserve credit because often with automatic winders, the brands do not think this through. They simply send you one plug, regardless of whether you're in the UK, USA or EU. And the problem is, for example, you might be in the UK and USA and they send you this European plug, which is useless to you. But what they do is they select the correct plug for your region, and also you can use a USB, which is universal. You can power this off your laptop or a USB power adapter. So even if you don't have the correct plug for where you are, you can simply use a universal USB. But it plugs in nice and snugly, and you have the option. And of course, you can also battery power it with 2 C-type batteries if you don't want to run it off the mains. So very good to have those options. You can use the power plug, USB plug, or battery power. And again, this is something one doesn't get. I'll just switch it on again. With other watch winders, they just simply give you one plug, regardless of whether you are in the UK, USA or EU. And again, I want to remind you that Mozsly ship these watch winders from the respective region you're in, so you don't have to pay import tax. If you're within the EU, they are shipped from Italy. If you're in the UK, they ship from UK. If you're in the USA, they ship from USA. So that is something I like about it, not having to pay import tax, because it is expensive at €155. So I'm going to declare it excellent quality and excellent value at €155. I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I'm going to declare this a champagne watch winder for lemonade money. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Mozsly double watch winder. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.